So ready.
Let's go.
It says, Hugh Jackman confirms Wolverine return in Deadpool 3. The first thing I thought of when I thought of this, and I'm going to be fair, the actual advertisement, Mary thought it was meh. I thought it was beautifully done.
Why?
I just liked it. Maybe it's because I like Ryan Reynolds. Maybe it's because I like
both of them.
But here's the problem. I don't think it justifies this movie.
Look, the announcement video is asking a lot of the viewers, and I can't watch it and divorce it from the image in my mind of the stereotypical MCU shill that just loves and eats up everything that they give you. And just, I picture him pogging at the screen, and I simply can't suspend disbelief.
Yes.
And I don't like Ryan Reynolds. That's my personal prejudice against Ryan Reynolds. I'll let that be. I'll let that slide. But you can tell that they're playing characters even in their personal capacity, like as Ryan Reynolds, as Hugh Jackman. They aren't who they are.
It's kind of like The Rock and Kevin Hart. Whenever they're having their interactions,
they are characters.
It's very clearly a character. My problem with this...
It's just artificial. It's fake.
My problem with the whole thing is there is plenty of reason, I suppose, to make Deadpool 3, although I think making it at Disney and just saying it's going to be R-rated, meh, I'll believe it when I see it that it's going to be that good. There is no reason, in my personal opinion, to bring back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine when he had such a fantastic send-off in Logan from James Mangold. I don't think that there's a reason to continue that. And one of the reasons for that is that when Logan came out, it was just before the Fox merger, and there was already rumors of the Fox merger going on in which Disney was purchasing Fox characters that they had been licensed out at Marvel. And it felt like the end of an era and the proper end to an era. Now, I suppose this should have seemed like it was going to come when they brought back Patrick Stewart in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But I just don't think when you give a character that fantastic of a send-off, and spoiler alert for the end of Logan, he does die, there is no reason to bring him back.
There's always a reason.
This is where I actually, people think I disagree with Hannah Claire. I don't actually disagree with Hannah Claire most of the time. I am just pragmatic in the sense that I'm telling her, you can say it doesn't need to happen all you want. Money will make it happen.
Exactly.
I understand that's going to happen. And I argue with her in jest a bit about Fast and Furious because it's a silly franchise that I don't mind there being sequels. There is more weight, in my opinion, to Hugh Jackman's portrayal of that character. I don't think they need to go back to that well. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
I watched Logan, and when I did, I disliked it or I was indifferent to it. Yep. Well, really, if I'm indifferent to something, I just assume that I dislike it because why would I like something I wouldn't watch again?
Yeah.
And I thought that the ending, even though I wasn't invested in the character personally, the ending was supposed to be final, and that is what people took it as at the time. And to not stick with that ending and to confirm that everything that happens in the MCU, it is not only low stakes but no stakes whatsoever. There are no consequences to the plot lines.
They've already brought up bringing back Tony Stark.
It's so demoralizing that you should return again and again to watching Marvel films and thinking anything that happens in them is of consequence.
And here's the thing. What they said in the second video, and we're going to watch the first video in the second here. This is my bad. I probably should have played the video first. They're saying that this is that Deadpool, or I'm sorry, that Logan took place in 2029. I don't remember that from the movie, but that could be true. So they're saying that this is going to take place before then, so it'll make sense that he's still alive. I still don't think you need to go back to that well. They did the same thing with Black Widow when they brought back Black Widow for her own solo movie and made it like something that happened before Endgame. You can't go backwards. You can't. So.
I watched Black Widow too, and I was also extremely indifferent to that. I just don't buy the investment, the personal investment in characters anymore with the MCU.
I'm going to play the video from Ryan Reynolds here because we did get a chat here that said dropping news without explaining. I thought I explained what happened, that they were bringing back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine for Deadpool 3, which will be out, by the way, September 6th, 2024. But I'm going to play this video so you guys can get an idea of what we're talking about here.
Hey everyone, we're extremely sad to have missed D23, but we've been working very hard on the next Deadpool film for a good long while now.
I've had to really search my soul on this one.
His first appearance in the MCU obviously needs to feel special. We need to stay true to the character, find new depth, new motivation, new meaning.
Every Deadpool needs to stand out and stand apart. It's been an incredible challenge.
That's his
that
alcohol,
has
by the way, that
forced
he's
me
putting
to
in that
reach
bottle.
down
That's his, like,
deep
that he
inside.
owns.
Oh,
company owns.
okay.
Fantastic product
What is it
placement.
called?
Aviation, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Just completely
Doesn't he also
Empty,
have his
yeah.
own
and
Wireless
terrifying.
provider?
yeah,
you
his
did have
own
one, I
cell
I use it. I like
service
it.
company?
Hey, Hugh, you want to play Wolverine one more time?
Yeah, sure, Ryan.
We're gonna cut that because I don't want to get a copyright strike.
I
on that
can't. Like, Ryan Reynolds is just so obnoxious, in
I-
my opinion. Do you guys relate?
I like him.
At all.
I like him.
I think he's
His
great.
whole shtick is that he's like so relatable and likable, and that's where you lose me.
I
Like,
like
you're
him.
not relatable.
That's
You're
not
Ryan
why
Reynolds.
I like him. And I thought you would like him for sure because he's been
Really?
married for quite a while now and he has like a solid family life. And
I mean,
view him
that's
as
a good
role
thing.
model.
Yeah, but he's not
Just
likable
gets on
as an
your nerves.
individual.
That's fine.
Maybe it's because I grew up in the era of Van Wilder when he kind of became Van Wilder, and then now he kind of plays Van Wilder and everything afterwards. But there's more
like
than a
this
few
character.
actors that do that are just themselves.
Even his Instagram username is a reference to that.
Van City or yeah.
Van
So,
City Reynolds.
So I don't know if it's necessary. I just don't think you need to bring it back because, again, Logan was a very seriously toned film that now they're going to walk back and bring it. And this is one of the problems with the MCU is as much as we used to give it crap, or I used to give it crap for all of it feeling the same, it kind of has to. It's why nobody likes She-Hulk, because the tone of She-Hulk doesn't fit with the rest of the MCU because they're trying to differentiate now. It just doesn't work. But basically,
you're saying they don't need to bring him back.
They don't.
But the MCU doesn't really need to do anything
No.
because none of it means anything. None of the movements of the plot or deaths of the characters have any weight.
there isn't a story to tell for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in this movie that I feel like will do the character justice.
Yeah, that's her. I feel like we're watching the live action death of the MCU like in real time.
In slow motion.
Yeah, it's interesting to say the least. I think that they're rehashing all of this, not only for money, but I've said this before, and I think it's 100% true. This is something that Andrew Klavan says sometimes. He says you can kind of judge a culture. I'm paraphrasing. Kind of judge a culture, like the actual state of a culture, based on how their movies are doing, how their art is doing. When you start to get repeats like this, when no one is allowed to die anymore, and they keep bringing them back relentlessly, you know that it's on. The whole culture is on the outs. I cannot talk today. I apologize.
I'm also kind of over the cameos because the
Yeah.
cameos are cheap. It's funny
And
too
also
because
the threats of cameos
Every-
in She-Hulk, where they want to disappoint the Daredevil fans by teasing a cameo and then it doesn't happen.
Waffles.
But that was the joke.
Waffles. I did point out that Deadpool 3 takes place after Logan, right? I don't care. That doesn't.
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't matter.
Like I said, the timeline does not matter to me because the movie's coming out later.
That doesn't
like
save
that.
it.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're like when they made Black Widow, that took place before Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame, but it didn't matter because the movies already happened. That's where you run into problems with this stuff. So beyond that, so you don't want to see it because it feels like it's there's no stakes to anything.
Yeah.
Mine is more that I feel like they've caught themselves between a rock and a hard place where the new stuff that they create doesn't work. Like nobody cared about Eternals. You can say whatever you want. Nobody cared about Eternals. It was memory hole.
The headlines cared about
The headlines cared about the Eternals. People kind of vaguely sort of cared about
I never
Shang-Chi.
heard about it.
Yeah.
I did see Shang-Chi.
Yeah, and Shang-Chi was fine. It was fine. I almost would prefer these movies go back to origin stories and individual films because I don't want the cameos anymore. I understand that the point of the cameos is to make it feel more like an actual comic book where the characters cross over more readily.
Right.
But in this, it just feels like weird bait to get you to watch something you wouldn't normally watch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people watching She-Hulk right now that wouldn't give a crap because what they want to see is Charlie Cox's Daredevil, and we're like 6 episodes in, they're like, he's coming, we promise. You've seen his helmet, he's gonna be here, and everyone's like, I can't take this garbage much more.
Can't
And his
put up with
absence
this.
from it is supposed to be a punchline in and of itself. As you said, it's hard to do these cameos because you have to meld two different tones.
Yeah.
And not all of it is gonna make sense.
Like I said, I don't feel like Logan, as it happened in that film, there was more humor, slightly more humor in the previous Wolverine iterations of the Fox franchises, fine. But the way it ended was perfect. You don't need to look at something that's serious and then walk it back to something like Deadpool, which is inherently not a serious franchise. By the way, I'm not saying that they should make Deadpool 3. I have my own criticisms about trying to do that at Disney, because it was done through Fox before. It wasn't done through Disney.
Okay.
But
so it's going to be put through the filter of being kid friendly.
they're saying they're going to make it R-rated. Like I said, I will believe that when I see it. If it turns out great, I am happy to walk that back and say I was wrong. I don't think I'll be wrong. That it at least it won't carry the same magic that the first two Deadpools, and even the second Deadpool to me wasn't as good as the first one. As much as I like Josh Brolin as in that movie. So beyond that, more bad news for Marvel is that they've got problems with Mahershala Ali playing Blade. They're 2 months from the start of filming, and the director for the movie, which is only supposedly 90 minutes in script length, walked out 2 months before they were supposed to start filming.
Did he announce why he did that?
He didn't say why, from what I read. But
I mean, it might have been a forced resignation.
it could just be
some
like
reason.
creative, different. Like
It's always creative differences
Yeah.
when they don't want to explain themselves.
Sure. And that's fine. That's fair.
Convenient.
the same thing happened with Black Widow when they found out, like they approached some directors and they're like, we want you to direct this movie. They're like, ooh, I can't wait to do the action scenes. Like, no, we'll do that. Because they have their own department that does all of the action and the special
Yeah.
effects. That's its own separate thing. So it's really funny. It's like this guy, I wonder if he thought he was going to have more creative freedom and then just wasn't given that creative freedom. So it could be so.
That can stunt a movie.
Yeah, well, and it's like the reason they all feel the same
Get it?
is because
Stunt.
nah, that was good. She's like my genius is wasted here.
I need to,
Over the
need
top
to
of
drive
everyone's
this
head.
home.
I actually wasn't a huge fan. Like Mahershala Ali is one of the best actors working today. I don't really care for him as Blade. I just don't think he's kind of like, I'd have to see him put on like a bunch more muscle and change his look. He just doesn't fit it to me. I love Wesley Snipes as Blade.
For sure.
Like I said, Mahershala Ali is a fantastic actor. Wesley Snipes is like an event.
How do you mean?
Like when you see him, he is the movie.
He is the movie.
He is the he's like it's similar to how Robert Downey Jr. kind of almost in a more charismatic way. Like he is very much like one of the reasons that he wasn't a huge fan of the later Blade movies is he became like a side character in his own movies. Like Ryan Reynolds was in the third Blade movie as a different character. So it's like he became like a background character in his own movie. I'd have rather seen them just bring him back and do Old Man Blade. I don't know if there's actually a comic story that lines up with that.
Doesn't matter. It should be.
So it says, according to Jeff Snyder, basically says that he first tweeted about Blade losing its director prior to the exclusive from The Hollywood Reporter, announcing the news and offering more details. He says the multi-time Oscar winner is very frustrated with the process. Like I said, he might have thought as the lead actor he was going to have more freedom, or maybe like they're just saying Kevin Feige, they're literally announcing projects constantly. He's got to be stretched thin, right? Like he's only one dude. Before they were making 2 movies a year, and they had their Netflix shows which weren't overseen by him. They had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. which weren't overseen by him. He was important and he was doing great work, but he didn't have the plate that he has now, assuming that he is. That was funny, right?
That's great.
There's a dollar bill on top of my
Balancing
camera.
on top
Let's
of Mary's
just
camera.
say it
Oh,
out loud.
okay,
so we
yes.
don't
Okay, I see it.
elephant in the room,
So
yeah.
it's like he's probably stretched very thin, and if he's built this universe the size it is with the success level that it is, he may have a hard time ceding any amount of control over fear that what gets created won't match what he wants it to be.
That's fair.
But there's no
That's a valid concern.
united theme or feeling in the MCU anymore.
No.
So what would that even be?
It's really funny too. I was like, I kind of waded into the depths of like the people who are still like big time fans, watching some videos from channels that are very, very pro what MCU is doing right now, and most of them, to their credit, are very positive and very like upbeat about
happy-go-lucky.
and they were not wrong about one thing. They're like, look, it seems like there isn't much connective tissue and that it's all kind of a mess right now. But to be fair, the MCU was kind of a mess before the first Avengers movie. So
That's fair.
that doesn't really excuse it being a mess again, because it's not before the first Avengers movie now.
Yeah.
But they are resetting.
I want to add to what I said earlier about everything being low stakes or no stakes, and the fact that I'm not invested in any of these characters. It's not that I have a preconceived bias that keeps me from being invested in any of these stories. I've tried watching these different movies with different tones, with different characters, with different crossovers, and what I have gleaned from that is
Excellent use of glean, by the way.
Yeah, I agree.
that the MCU won't let me be invested in any of them.
Yeah.
And by bringing them back, it actually diminishes their importance to the universe.
If they bring back
Completely.
Tony Stark, it will be. I think that's a horrible idea. Like,
I think
They
that's
might.
the end.
like I don't think
that's
there's. I don't think there's any reason to do it. Robert Downey Jr. is iconic as that character. I don't even want you
Nothing
bringing
is
in,
off the table.
Like, and the thing is, like, there's a million ways they could do it, right? They're talking about why they didn't recast Black Panther. In fact, I have that here. Like, why they
Yeah.
didn't cast Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. That one actually makes more sense to recast.
Well, because there's a finality to someone really dying
Yes.
and not dying on a film.
So they could have recasted this by any number of reasons. And with now that the multiverse is a thing, I would have loved to have seen a version where they brought back and just made Killmonger the Michael B. Jordan character playing that role or taking over for that role, because he was the best part of the actual Black Panther movie, in my opinion.
What Kevin Feige has said about not recasting Chadwick Boseman, it doesn't really make sense in terms of showing sensitivity to the people still processing his death.
His brother says he
Because-
think he would have wanted them to.
Well, there are a lot of people who can say he would have wanted this, he would have wanted that, and you don't really know who to believe,
Yeah.
especially after they've used his social media to promote the
Dude.
movie.
Cringe.
Sensitivity is not really their first priority.
Nope.
They've got to have some other reason that they didn't recast him.
MCU. They're gonna make Letitia Wright's Shuri the Black Panther.
You think so?
Yes. Well, I mean, it actually doesn't bother me because she's pretty based. So I'm
That'd be great.
kidding. I wouldn't
Separate art from the
separate
artist.
art from
Brett.
artist.
Or it's
She actually was kind of annoying in that movie, but I think that's where they're going, and they're going to end up focusing more on the women of that franchise because it makes more sense with the guard and the all-female guard and everything. So they'll probably end up being much more focused on the female characters, which is a bummer because that movie has that first one has Winston Duke as M'Baku, and Winston Duke is great. Winston Duke is a fantastic actor. So they're kind of setting themselves up for people are going to see right through it. The shills who we talk about will love it either way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everyone else will
Boring.
be like, MCU.
Well, how was Letitia Wright's character annoying in the
I hate
Original.
I tend to be very annoyed with they love the science. They love they're just.
Do they?
What do you mean?
Interesting.
Like she's a scientist and that's half their character and it's all
They did the
quips.
same thing
It's-
in Jurassic World Dominion.
That was
though.
annoying too.
Yeah.
It's all quips. It's
I'm a woman, and my entire personality is that I'm a scientist.
Science lady.
So
Yeah.
not my thing, but like I said, that's where I think that they're going with that one. I also wanted to mention one more thing, and that's that I saw a couple of things floating around that they will be bringing back Foggy, Karen, and who's the other? Jessica Jones, The Punisher, Wilson Fisk will all come back from the Netflix shows, which means that we will get back Deborah Ann Woll, we'll get back Eldon Henson, we'll get back Vincent D'Onofrio, we'll get back John Bernthal. We won't be getting back Elodie Young as Elektra, and I would have rather had her back as Elektra than Fisk back as or than D'Onofrio back as Fisk, and that's because I think that there's more room for tonal change with the Elektra character than there is with the Kingpin character. I understand that you can't do Daredevil without that character. He's seminal to that character's struggle, in the storylines that they may be adapting may require it. But I loved Elodie Young's performance as Elektra, and I think that if they were going to bring one of those two characters back, I would have rather seen her, because I'm actually now kind of terrified of who they're going to. Elodie Young, if you don't know who that is, she's on this really awful show now called The Cleaning Lady. I kid you not.
Wait,
Yeah.
we talked about
Yeah,
this,
she's-
didn't we?
She is an absolutely stunningly beautiful woman that fits the role of Elektra, which is a stunningly beautiful character. And I just don't trust Disney to not
to mess
hire
it
a
up.
frumpy, kind of average-looking woman to take on that role. I'm sorry.
We
I
were
don't.
talking about like the fact that hot people can't be casted anymore.
So sad.
Yeah.
And not even when it comes to child actors getting casted, do they cast cute children.
Nope, they're
They-
always
They cast children who look like way older than their own age.
Garden gnomes.
Or, yeah, garden gnomes.
yes, garden
Older
gnomes.
Kids, yeah.
When we were looking at the trailer for The Last of Us, that's the child
Yeah.
actor they casted for, what's her name? In the
Ellie. Ellie.
Oh yeah,
Ellie?
Ellie?
from Last
That's
of Us.
that's even funnier now that I know they modeled that character after Elliot Page.
yeah.
Well, then Ellen Page, but
Yeah.
like they didn't even try to hide the fact that they modeled the character after her without permission.
Yep.
Nice.
It's kinda funny.
So, and the funny thing is, I always felt that it was necessary. I don't know if we explained this on air, but we talked. Sometimes we like get mixed up with what we've talked about on air and what we haven't.
Right.
But like, I felt like making that character kind of like a cute young person. It felt necessary because it should show on the face of somebody the horrors of like a post-apocalyptic world.
It also endears you to them,
And it
like it or
endears you
not.
to them, but the horror of what they're experiencing feels like it shows more prominently on
Yeah.
screen when they're like a fresh-faced young person who's adorable, but then all this awful stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to make more sense visually, and they just don't want to go for that.
Yeah, the one they casted just not only doesn't look anything like the
Yeah.
video game character, but also is just not cute. And like it or not, human brains like cute looking children
Shocking, I
and
know.
endear themselves to them and want to protect them.
Yeah.
When you play that game, you're supposed to, I'm kind of going off, but when you play that game, you are supposed to identify with Joel and feel parental protective feeling
Over
toward this younger character. And you can't accomplish that when you're purposefully casting someone that doesn't even look as young as they are.
Is it also like, wasn't it like a proven fact that people trust better-looking people
Yeah,
more?
so
That's
there,
true.
There definitely is a beauty advantage that people get. And I think the beauty is the perfect combination of biology and philosophy, because there is a philosophical side of it that I feel like our culture has lost. I know I'm really doom and gloom, especially today, because I'm like, it's all falling apart. But I think we've lost it. I think we failed to recognize its significance. Like, we still have beautiful celebrities, sure, but we also are starting to see the influence of some critical theory coming into that, like the fat acceptance nonsense. We're seeing that there. So I feel like, once again, you can look at whether they decide to cast cute or average looking people and be like, how is our culture doing? Oh, not very well, because we don't recognize the significance of beauty. Like, it's no longer essential to us.
It only annoys me when the women talk about it, like when they have roles where they're either made androgynous or they talk about the male gaze in the movie. Like, you should not look at this character in a sexualized way, but then you see them on the red carpet and they're dressed up like
nothing.
In like nothing.
Yeah, like
Yeah, they
dental
did that
floss.
to Xochitl Gomez.
Yeah. So like,
And Millie Bobby Brown, and
Yeah.
the list could go on.
that's
many.
even a little bit different because that's the creepy fact that they're like under 18 at the time. I'm talking more like adults talking about there shouldn't be male gaze. Like, the women shouldn't be hot. You shouldn't just like this character because the character is hot. I talked about yesterday. I've been rewatching the Transporter films. Everyone should go rewatch the Transporter films. And in the second one, there's this character. I kid you not. She spends the entire movie carrying dual wielded Glocks with extended mags, and she spends the whole movie in lingerie. And nobody
Nobody says
cares.
anything
No
about
one
it.
addresses it.
Nobody
No one cares.
It's never
like a
mentioned.
thing.
It's just a thing. The character's just in lingerie the whole time,
That's
and it's
kinda funny.
awesome.
That's
And-
really funny.
and it's freaking awesome. Okay, now that
sure you don't mind.
that actress,
Dudes rock,
Yeah.
and chicks in lingerie rock.
hot,
Also, apparently.
hot, good,
Hot, busty
dudes,
ladies.
good-looking dudes shooting guns, hot women shooting guns.
Hot
That's-
women being smoke shows.
Yes.
Is as nature intended.
So
I
so
agree.
like when those actors have to now be completely dressed down just to say take that, you incels,
hate that.
only to then go to the red carpet amongst their friends and dress
Dental
exactly like what they were railing against
Yeah.
in the movie is the peak of hypocrisy.
That's how you know it's a lie. You
Yeah.
can tell it's hypocrisy because they wear kite string to these award shows.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you
Kite
really?
string.
It's serious though. Have you seen, like, Rihanna
That's
was
funny.
wearing that freaking
No, yeah.
whatever, I don't know.
I mean, all the time
fishnet.
she was pregnant, she's having
Well, I mean,
belly.
Belly
good for
out.
her. She's
But
enjoying
aside
her
from
being
that-
pregnant, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, like, yeah, that's how you know they don't believe what they're saying. This is like the Obamas buying their house right on the edge of the ocean while they're screaming about climate change. We know you don't believe what you're saying. Just stop.
So just to close off, I just want to say Deadpool 3 will come out September 6th, 2024.
It's a long way out.
It's a long way out, so we'll see. We'll follow it as it goes. I just don't know if the fact that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman having kind of a, like you called it, kind of a synthetic but fairly endearing bromance.
They're trying to be
I call it endearing. Mary would call it fake. It is fake. I can still find it fake and endearing.
Okay.
I understand that.
Fair.
I don't think that justifies the need to bring back the Logan, the Hugh Jackman version of that character when it was given such a nice send-off. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.